I was saying goodbye to my family, and my dad was like, he offered his hand, and he was just to give me a nice shake. And I give him a hug, like a goodbye hug, and he was like, he's not used to this. All right, so first I want to address a pretty common issue, and that is we're going to talk about ignorance. People from the US, Europe, and even Asia, we tend to think that a lot of Latin America, it has almost identical culture and there's not a lot of difference between different countries, which of course is not the case. However, that is normal when you don't know a lot about a certain place. When you've never been there, you're going to make some wrong assumptions. This is true for Brazilians as well, so it's not unique for people from a certain country. And yeah, a lot of times when I'm talking English, when I'm speaking English, people in Brazil assume that I'm American. And even if they know I'm from Europe, they tend to have this idea of what Europeans are like. I've heard some crazy stuff that was really not even close to the truth. So I'm going to be sharing my experience as specifically someone from Europe, from Eastern Europe, and as a Bulgarian person. And even then, keep in mind, I'm a unique human being, so what I think may not necessarily reflect what people from my part of the world think and share as well. A couple of things to keep in mind. The east part of Europe tends to be, well, basically it's the poor side of Europe. People are colder, more reserved, distrusting of strangers. But once they get to know you, they are very warm, very friendly, and very loyal. It's just that it takes a long time to get to that point. The first thing that I want to say I really love about Brazil is that Brazilians are, I wouldn't say the complete opposite. Brazilians are probably the complete opposite of Finnish people. Again, still European, but they're different than us. But they're very warm, they're very friendly, they're very laid back, chill, super easy to get along with, to talk to. I've never seen any Brazilian get like mad or frustrated or give me like the mean face. Mostly had pleasant experience, and this is what I enjoy. In a funny way, that's also confusing because when someone you don't know, they're being overly friendly to you, it is suspicious in a way. This is not true for all Bulgarian people, especially the younger generation, but the older generation, and what I've been taught, what my parents told me, was to never trust people that I don't know, and if they're being nice to me, assume that they have some hidden agenda. I really enjoy how people are like in Brazil, but I'm still feeling sometimes confused, and it puts me on my guard when people are being too nice to me. Of course, I've never had any negative experience, but it's still something that I enjoy. It's probably gonna take me some time to get used to the culture. The second thing that I really enjoy about Brazilian culture is how people treat strangers, especially foreigners. Back home, but it really depends where you go. If you don't speak the local language, people may be a little bit more reserved and they may straight up not want to deal with you. So you start talking, let's say you start speaking in English and they're like, nah, just turn around and go away. Yeah, they're not gonna bother. They don't wanna deal with you. In some countries, it's even more extreme where people get like super intimidated by you and they don't even know how to respond to you. They want to help, but they're very intimidated. Most Brazilians, they just don't care. I mean, you start talking English to them and they're like, yeah, fine, yeah, it's all good. They stand there, they're gonna try and help you. Of course, the problem is most people don't speak English. So if you don't speak Portuguese, there's going to be some issues with this, but at least they're having the intent to help you and they treat you in a nice way, even when it's very hard for them to do something for you. They will at least try. So that's something that I really love about Brazilians. On to the next thing, number 3, prices. So this is something that a lot of Brazilians get wrong. There's this, how do I put this? Brazilian people think that if you're coming from Europe, you're rich, you have a lot of money, and everything's cheap for you. But as I said in the beginning, it really comes down to which part of Europe you're coming from. So I'm coming from Eastern Europe. It's not the same as coming from Western Europe, and even then there's a little bit of a difference there. So if you're from the East, you go to the West, everything is almost twice as expensive. In certain cases, maybe 3 or 4 times more expensive, depending on where you exactly come from and where you go. Me being an Eastern European in Brazil, things are certainly cheaper, but I wouldn't say cheap. Some of the places were really, really cheap, I'm not gonna lie. But the area where I used to live, it was an affluent area. Honestly, I was paying more to live there than I would be paying back home because of the rent. The rest of the stuff was pretty affordable, and for the most part, I didn't have to think about prices. If I like something, I just get it, and then I pay, and I don't even bother to check the receipt or anything. I know that I can afford it. but I wouldn't say it's super cheap. The money that you're making back home converts differently depending on where you go. And also we, in the eastern part of Europe, I don't think any country uses euros apart from Greece. Yeah. On to the next thing, physicality. And this one really depends. If we're talking about people that you know, who are family, maybe you're dating, or maybe just friends, just giving them a nice hug, staying close to them, holding hands, depending on what's acceptable based on your relationship with that person. It's really nice. It feels good. I'm not gonna lie, and I really appreciate this, and it's something that I wanna learn to do more, especially with my family back home. I remember a few years ago, this was prior to me coming to Brazil. I was living in a different place where people also used to hug a lot. I came back home, and then I had to leave somewhere again for maybe like a few months, and then I was saying goodbye to my family, and my dad was like, he offered his hand, and he was just to give me a nice shake. I give him a hug, like a goodbye hug, and he was like, he's not used to this. So it's, again, different culture. We're not like that physical. It's mostly handshakes. There's really no hugging. It's very rare, and it's usually with a female friend or a female family member, not so much with a male friend. But in Brazil, this is like totally normal. So this is something that I really enjoy, but only with people that I know. So if it's somebody that I don't know, I still find it too much, and I don't find it acceptable. So if a stranger comes next to me and just touches me or like tries to give me a hug, like we just met and he's like, oh, you're a cool guy, let me give you a hug. Even if it's a female, that's a little bit too much for me. But yeah, certain things that I really enjoy, certain things that I'm still warming up to. The last thing that I'd like to mention is how developed some cities are. So I'm specifically going to be talking about Sao Paulo, which is probably a huge exception compared to the rest of the countries. And yes, I know there are parts of Brazil, a lot of parts of Brazil that are very poor. People are really struggling to survive, people living in favelas and whatnot. But me living in Sao Paulo, especially the area that I've been, there wasn't anything that I was missing. It was something that I really enjoyed. Like if I want to get something, I can get it. Like if I want something done, a service, they got it there. They have everything. So again, it depends where you live, but I really enjoyed how developed the city is. Obviously, it's the largest city in Latin America, and I think in the southern part so south of the equator. I could be wrong about this, by the way, I'm not sure. But yeah, really enjoyed the quality of life. Of course, assuming that you live in a nice place and you have the means to afford it. As I said, Brazil is not exactly cheap depending on where you go and where you're coming from. A couple of honorable mentions, food, and that's questions that I got a lot from Brazilians. They were really curious what I think about the local food there. What I did try, I did enjoy. However, I'm not a foodie, so I can't really comment. Also, when I travel, when I'm in a foreign country, I rarely bother to eat the local food. Not because I don't appreciate the culture, it's just that it's not top priority for me to try the food. I have other things that I care much more about. Then the other thing would be, that's actually questions that I got from guys, but I'll just generalize and talk about women and guys in Brazil. So what is my opinion? Do I really find them attractive? I'm not going to share my personal taste. I'm just going to say what the culture is back home. So in Eastern Europe, the people have preference for leaner bodies, slim, slender, usually a tan, but tanned, not someone who has darker skin to begin with, but rather someone who has whiter skin but got tan. So I feel like most Eastern Europeans probably are not going to find most Brazilians that attractive. This is not my opinion. I just want to make this clear. I have different tastes when it comes to people, especially women. But yeah, it's because Brazilian women people generally have a little bit more mass. They have a little bit more curves. They're a little bit darker. So I don't think there's going to be a huge match between Eastern Europe and the Brazilian people, although I do know people from my country who are dating Brazilians, so obviously there's a lot of exceptions. Hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, and remember, the Emperor Protects. It's actually behind me, but you can't really see it because of the camera focus, but that's the Emperor behind over there. Cheers and take care.